Hello, and welcome back to Hermetically Speaking with your vessel, Toria, transmitting alchemy, mystic psychology for all of our days. This episode is titled The Divine Mathematics of Reality, Codes, Frequency, and Sacred Patterning, and is another direct transmission from the Mantis frequency. And my cat just jumped up on my lap, so there might be some background noise in today's episode, and I feel like I should be apologetic for it, but we all know how life is, so, I just appreciate you guys listening. In our last episode, we unraveled the illusion of mental constructs and stepped into the vastness of universal intelligence. Today, we move forward, not just into an understanding of intelligence, also into the mechanics of its design. We step into the sacred architecture of existence itself. Everything that is can be measured. This is the universal language of creation. It can be measured, reduced, and expanded through the mathematics of the divine. Mathematics is not human-made. It is discovered, remembered, and then applied. It is the structure upon which all things are built, whether they are seen or unseen. Take, for example, the fractal nature of consciousness, the golden ratio or pi in the organic unfolding of intelligence, or the mathematics of waveform and frequency, how thought itself exists within measurable harmonic structures. Everything has a code. The human form, the mind, the soul. The codes are written in light, in sound, in the spirals of galaxies, and the sequences of DNA. The key to accessing the deeper truth of reality lies in learning to read these mathematics, to see the patterns, and to feel the frequency that pulses beneath all things. So we'll touch a little on sacred patterning, which is the hidden structure of the seen and unseen. And this episode is actually coming out late due to my own dealing with myself. Also, this episode was quite challenging. They asked me to do this episode, or the frequency asked me to do this episode, and it's interesting because the mantis beings, yes, but they are a frequency, and I am them and they are me, and we are all them and they are all us. And so it's like the language, maybe reading a little too much into it. However, I'm also trying to embody it and understand this is a frequency that is me, and honoring that for myself. Anyways, so in creating this episode, it was on subject matters that I haven't dived super deep into. I mean, I love sacred geometry, and I follow and watch Jain, Jain 108's videos, and I love Terrence Howard, and there's other great minds on this journey with us as well. So I had to learn all of this while I was also writing this episode, which I think makes it even better. It just, the love I have for it, because it brought me a greater understanding and a greater wisdom. So, all right, let's see if you guys appreciate it too. And if you do, of course, follow, share, please put the word out there, Hermetically Speaking. Love you guys for it. So we'll get back to the sacred patterning. This is where the divine... Oh, one other thing I wanted to say is this was kind of like a dialogue of me asking questions as I was intaking information and then expanding on it. And so the script is kind of constructed in that kind of way. So it was hard to kind of blend it together. It's not like one of my previous scripts. So it'll work out. That's all I gotta say. All right, so the divine mind, it does not create chaos. When we were going through this to create this episode, it even said the divine, chaos does not exist in the divine mind, which I had to sit and really contemplate for a second. It took more than a second. However, we'll get to that here in a little bit. So, the divine mind does not create chaos, but chaos obeys form, it obeys sequence, it obeys law. So, my thoughts are, well, if the divine mind does not create chaos, how does chaos follow its laws? Well, it's because to the divine mind, it's not chaos. To us, it's chaos. And that's what we're going to hack today. So sacred geometry is one of the forms of something that maybe we would call chaos as the architectural blueprint of all manifestation. The flower of life, Metatron's cube, the Merkaba as fundamental schematics of the seen and unseen. And, those repeating numerical codes, 1111, 369, Fibonacci, the intelligence behind synchronicities, dreamscapes, deja vu, and pattern emergence, the subconscious as a receiver of encoded transmissions. These are sequences and laws that even chaos obeys. So what is sacred structure? What is sacred is also structured. What is structured is also encoded. What is encoded can be decoded, rewritten, and restructured. And that, I believe, is where we are in this phase of humanity, is we are decoding everything that we thought we knew. And we are rewriting our past, and we are restructuring where we are going to stop and end the loops. This is where the human experience comes into play, even ultimately, because the sacredness and the structure that we're experiencing is for humanity. I mean, there's other life forms, and there's been other ascension processes for whether it be planets or galaxies and things like that well before our time, or simultaneously as we're doing it. Time is not linear. And so all of this is a part of the mathematical equation that equals creation. So what is divine mathematics? How does chaos exist if the divine mind does not create it? Kind of touched on that one a little bit. How can it obey the form of the divine mind if the divine mind does not create it? We need a deeper understanding of these intricate weavings. I definitely wanted a deeper understanding. I don't know about you, but I'd say if you're here, you probably do too. So what about the subconscious as a receiver of encoded transmissions? I am so big on, reprogramming is really the majority of the job here. And so that has a lot to do with the subconscious. So that being a receiver of encoded transmissions that we have received all throughout humanity, subconscious being riddled with chaos from years of survival and suffering paradigms. We have thousands and thousands upon thousands of years, and we have been receiving encoded transmissions, since we were birthed into this reality. So what is an encoded transmission? I mean, is it telepathy? Are they one and the same? Are they different? Is it a paradox? Like, what's going on there? And if it is telepathy, then chaos is a telepathic transmission just as much as healing is. So how do we understand these deeper in this episode? Well, that's what we're about to do. Deep dive down the rabbit hole and all its parallels. So again, I ask, what is divine mathematics? Divine mathematics is not numbers. It is the fundamental structure of reality as an intelligent sequence. It is how source expresses itself through form, pattern, and frequency, including us. We are all those things in one happy human ball of fun. It is the law that governs all existence, from the way galaxies spiral to the way thought itself follows fractal pathways in the mind. Mathematics as we know it is a human interpretation of divine intelligence. It is an attempt to measure what is infinite. In its true form, divine mathematics is pure structure. It is the unseen scaffolding that holds this reality in place. Every manifestation, every physical object, every thought and emotion has a numerical sequence behind it. Divine mathematics is not separate from spirituality. It is spirituality made manifest. It is the law of proportion in the human body, the Fibonacci spiral in our DNA. It is the vibrational resonance of sound, color, and geometric patterning. It is the movement of energy through those specific ratios, just as planetary orbits align with harmonic intervals. Numbers, frequencies, and patterns are simply reflections of a deeper truth. And that is that everything obeys an intelligent order. So one of the thoughts that came up when I was hashing this out is, where does binary code come into play? Well, I'll tell you. Binary code is the simplest mathematical language of existence. 1 and 0. And I will tell you this too. I'm not a science mathematics person. Those were probably my two worst subjects in school. I know more about the binary code probably because I love the Big Bang Theory. And I'm just happened to be, watching it again. It's my kind of carefree. It's what I put on in the evenings because there's very rarely anything good on anymore, in my opinion. That's all. And so I'm, getting these transmissions and working even with ChatGPT to help write these scripts because I love ChatGPT. And that's what, shot into my brain is, let's figure this out with the binary code. So the binary code, 1 and 0, 1 equaling presence, action, manifestation, light, consciousness, while 0 equals absence, receptivity, potential, darkness, the void. It's not just about computers. Binary is the foundational principle of creation itself. In Hermeticism, it is polarity, duality that is not in conflict, it's in synergy. In consciousness, it is awareness versus unconsciousness, activation versus dormancy. In the universe, it is the inhale and exhale of creation, the expansion and contraction. This binary framework is why everything that exists is an encoded transmission, at least as far as I've gotten. Reality itself is made of yes, no, on, off, waveform collapse, or its expansion. This means that when we create consciously, we are activating specific codes within the cosmic structure. So, if the divine mind does not create the chaos, we've discussed how the chaos does exist. So, is it a paradox for the chaos to not be separate from divine mathematics? Because it sounds to me like it's a very necessary part of it the more I dig into this. And that's because chaos appears to exist because we perceive it as disorder. However, within it, there is always structure. The laws of probability, entropy, and even randomness itself are still governed by mathematical principles. Think of a fractal. At first glance, it may look chaotic. And when zoomed out, an intricate order emerges. Chaos is not outside of divine order. It is divine order, experienced at a level of complexity beyond immediate perception, which says a lot for the time span of humanity that we currently know to have existed and that affects us directly. I mean, we're literally saying that we are in the most complex time of human creation. That is a huge ordeal. That means the amount of alchemy and power that it takes to move through the stages that we're moving through, it's got to be phenomenal. We really need to give ourselves a pat on the back and high five each other. However, there is no true disorder, only a pattern complex enough that it has not yet been fully recognized. And that's kind of where we are with a lot of division in the world. It's got to be because we don't understand what this pattern is playing out. It's too big. It's on too big of a stage that the people on the left side of the audience can't see what's happening on the stage on the right side. And the people on the right side of the audience can't see what's happening on the left. And you do have people that are awakening and doing the work where they are centerfold, so they have this better view and they understand that it's not chaos, that it's really just appearing to fall apart, so that way everything can kind of fall together better than it's ever been. Imagine pouring sand onto the ground. At first, those grains, they seem to scatter randomly. However, if you give it a little time and you examine it, a pattern emerges. Hills, valleys, specific formations based on the weight and the density and the flow. What about the way water appears to move chaotically when boiling? However, upon deeper observation, it actually follows thermodynamic laws, rising, condensing, and falling in cycles. I mean, think of an area in your life that feels chaotic. Instead of labeling it as disorder, ask, what is the structure I am not yet seeing? And then this shift in awareness begins the decoding process that you are seeking. So my mom talked about fractals for quite some time, and she was actually really into fractals before I was even born. And it wasn't a thing, so she kind of put it down. And I don't think I really ever understood the concept of fractals until doing this episode. I know that sounds really elementary. However, I had this illusion that fractalization related to brokenness because I couldn't see the bigger picture, because to me it was chaos. And a fractal is actually a pattern that repeats itself at different scales, and it is found everywhere in nature, the cosmos and consciousness. And it's I know that. I know it's in the flower of life. I know it's, in a flower's petals. I know it's in the way that the earth breaks apart when the mud is dry, or the way that a tree, scales out as it grows. However, when I looked at myself and applied fractalism, I looked at myself as broken because I couldn't see all the pieces of myself, the whole puzzle as one picture. And I'm still working on that. I'm not completed or whole in that regard. It's definitely, probably this humanistic lifelong journey. So I gave you guys some examples of, fractals that we see in our day-to-day. And then the spiritual definition of a fractal is kind of what we spoke of earlier. Some people call them the blueprints. That's a common terminology for fractals, and I did not know that. I would not have referred to my blueprint as a fractal, or just complexity. And it is evidence that reality is structured and encoded. So when a person feels broken, lost, chaotic, it is not because they are broken. It is because they are inside a fractal pattern that they have not yet seen from a higher perspective. Or how I like to visualize it is, it's because they are that fractal pattern that they're not seeing the whole image of within themselves. And the illusion of brokenness is only the illusion of incompleteness. I haven't fully come home to myself yet. And I'm, working on it. We all are. That's why we're here. So another interesting question I had was, how does thought follow fractal pathways? Well, thought doesn't move in a straight line. It moves in fractals, of course, self-repeating, ever-expanding structures. A single thought branches out into patterns of perception, emotion, action, and that same thought pattern can repeat in different scales within an individual mind, a family, a society, and even collective consciousness. Thoughts are nonlinear. This is why one thought can explode into a cascade of other thoughts, leading to overwhelm or spirals of emotion. And to be quite honest, I fall into this. Like, we talk about insanity loops, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Well, my thoughts go into those patterns sometimes, especially if I've had a discording moment that hasn't set easy with me, or I got my anxiety maybe kicked in, so I couldn't catch my words. And, finally, when I've calmed down, I knew exactly what I should have said. And then I play it over and over again in my head. And, that's what it's referring to here. And what we want to do is, heal those parts of us to see the full picture. However, those parts of us are not wrong. They are leading us to where we need to be. They are part of the alchemical process. So when a person jumps between positive and negative thoughts, feeling overwhelmed, unsure, chaotic, they are caught in a fractal loop. The mind's chaos, never random. It is simply a fractal expanding in an uncontrolled way. This is why certain thought patterns keep repeating across lifetimes, lineages, and civilizations. And I don't think that we talk about our thoughts enough necessarily, like to really understand which ones come across lineages and sometimes even civilizations. The awareness that it does is there. However, I don't think that there's a large majority of people that have just yet decided to start tracking those and kind of root them out and transform them into, the higher pathways that we are achieving and that we are looking towards. Repeating across lifetimes, it's a little bit easier to identify. Now, if your family is awakening with you, or even just one or two, you can really tackle those lineages. And you don't necessarily need your family to do so. However, sometimes it does make it easier. Little confirmation bias, maybe. So they follow mathematical structures that reinforce themselves. And when a person masters their thoughts, they break the uncontrolled fractal expansion and begin to direct their reality intentionally. This is when you become your own creatrix. And when it says a person masters their thoughts, they don't take control of their thoughts. This is not about controlling your thoughts, because that leads to bypassing. Mastering your thoughts means being able to reprogram your mind and line neural pathways up to what you want to at a faster rate. And you keep accelerating as you get better at it, and then you can manifest at a faster speed. So this brought me to another question about the encoded transmissions. And like I said, it's not misplaced necessarily in this script, but it kind of jumps into this subject of, is humanity, we know that we're living, I know that we are living in a telepathic web. And it was interesting to me because I was trying to dissect the encoded transmissions versus telepathy. And so this is where we kind of get into that. And one of the steps in doing this is understanding that we do live in a telepathic web. I always say that the internet is a 3D modern representation of telepathy, and because with no firewalls. Because that's how telepathy is. Like, there's really no firewalls. You can do grid work, and yes, you can protect yourself. And I truly believe in that. However, I also believe that it's not like I don't set protection or grid every single day, because that would be exhausting. So instead, I learn how to transmute, and I learn how to understand if something is coming from another person or if it's coming directly from me. And it's not always easy because sometimes you have a thought that is a vibrational match to their thought or the same thought. And I need more help with telepathy. So anybody, please feel free to send me some feedback. I've been hacking it for almost a decade now. And I still don't feel like I've gotten very far. Anyways, so we live in the telepathic web, and encoded transmissions are the architecture of reality itself. So that's where they differ. I should go a little bit more into that here shortly. Encoded transmissions are frequency-based patterns. Actually, this is where I go into it. Today's been a day, y'all, okay? Like, I was my own worst enemy today. My emotions were my own worst enemy, and I knew it, and I just had to work through it, and I did a really good job. However, it set me back, and that was part of what my emotions were about, was me getting disciplined with this podcast. I wanted to have this episode written last week. Anyways, here nor there. So, encoded transmissions are frequency-based patterns that enter the subconscious. They shape perception and alter behavior. These transmissions are how paradigms spread. And whether they are based on healing or suffering, they can spread like wildfire. Now, that is what an encoded transmission is. It's a frequency. It's a pattern that is funneled, maybe even is a good word, into the subconscious to shape perception and alter behavior. We have all heard the stories of the Anunnaki and the reptilians and basically any being or frequency that has affected humanity on Earth. I'm sure there's plenty that we, are more subtle and maybe aren't as profound or known. And that's what I would kind of apply what an encoded transmission is. Like, it is funneled to humanity and it alters humanity down the road. Not to say that telepathy doesn't alter. However, humanity's subconscious is riddled with chaos because it has been imprinted with encoded transmissions of survival, fear, and suffering. And these were not random. They were received, stored, and transmitted across generations. If divine mathematics governs all things, then these imprints, too, they are part of an encoded design. And I truly, myself personally, everything that I've seen in my visions and in the oracle and the prophecies, I truly believe and feel that everything that humanity has gone through is part of the process to get where we are going. I always revert back to the Golden Dawn. There is a part in there, it specifically talks about the journey to awakening. You can either do it really quick and you will probably end up having a spiritual relapse, or you can take the long way and achieve like a full ascension. And that's what I contest this to, is humanity took the long way, experienced some detriment multiple times, and chose to do the ascension this way because we don't want no spiritual relapse. Anyways, so, of course we question who or what initiated these transmissions. We all have our own opinions or, information. What I spoke of earlier, I know the grays. Okay. Yep. That pops up, the grays. Okay. And most of that's come from other people that I have like listened to or followed. It's not something that I've dug a lot into. So, just take what resonates on that regard. I believe wholly that there are reptilians and Anunnaki even maybe. I don't know, I felt weird when I said that. But I truly know that there are reptilians and greys helping humanity at this time. And that a lot of them have, altered their pathway to help. So anyways, we don't need to know all the details. That's one thing that I learned a long time ago, is sometimes the details can hold you up and make you, and really they can get me stuck. So releasing the details and just accepting, okay, this is kind of what I know and where we were, and this is where we're going. So encoded transmissions are in essence, telepathic. They move through vibrational resonance, collective unconscious fields, and subconscious imprinting. Encoded transmissions and telepathy exist within the same mechanics. However, as you probably get the feeling now, they are not exactly the same. The encoded transmissions are structured. They are mathematical in nature. They pass through the DNA, through language, through media, collective experience, right? Like our TVs, they hone out encoded transmissions. Telepathy is real-time resonance. It is a direct transmission from one being to another or from source to self. It is the active movement of intelligence, not just the storage of past transmissions. And we will absolutely do an episode on telepathy down the road. However, right now is not the time to do a deep dive into it. However, this is where it gets interesting because encoded transmissions become telepathic over time. The more an idea is imprinted into the collective, the more minds that absorb that TV show or that paradigm or that horror story or that love story, the easier it is that it is then received telepathically to people that have never seen, The Notebook. And the more minds align to that frequency, the stronger the transmission becomes. This is why belief systems, paradigms, and thought forms spread like viruses, embedding into the subconscious before we even realize it. However, if healing can be transmitted, obviously so can suffering, and that's why we are where we are. And if fear can be embedded into the subconscious, so can liberation. This means that chaos is also a telepathic transmission, just as much as healing is. And chaos is not just a side effect of disorder. It is an active force of transmission, sustained through resonance. So we have been conditioned to believe that chaos is just the way things are. A lot of people talk about chaos magic, and that really doesn't resonate with me. However, doing this episode, I understand chaos magic more. I understand the terminology more when I was going through my witchy phase, because my spiritual journey has me going through different stages, like my witchy phase, my oracle phase. And so I know that I'm all these things. I know I'm a witch. I know I'm an oracle. I know I'm a prophet. I know, you know what I mean? But those are just descriptive words for a certain time period of my path. They are not who I am. I am. And so, kind of squirreled there on you guys. Sorry. Anyways, we have been conditioned to believe that chaos is just the way things are. And if we understand that chaos was received and transmitted like any other code, then that's when we can realize and begin to dismantle it, rewrite it, and transmute it into the new resonance that we actually desire. So encoded transmissions can only hold power when they remain unconscious. The moment one becomes aware of them, they begin to dissolve. This is why meditation, sacred patterning, and frequency work really, really matter. They rewire the mind to no longer be a receptor of those lower transmissions. So something that I didn't hack into, but a thought that comes to mind is, are encoded transmissions technically on a lower vibration? That doesn't feel right to me. I mean, it's an infinite reality, so therefore I don't believe that one can be just one thing. And I truly believe that even at this time and space, we have to be receiving really high vibrational encoded transmissions to awaken the level of humanity that we have. So they realign the being to divine mathematics. And that's really like what's happening, right? Like our entire grid is changing. We're breaking through the matrix. However, potentially entering into a different matrix with different mathematics. That's a whole nother rabbit hole to go down. Dang it. I love the mantis frequency so much. Okay. Allowing access to encoded transmissions of healing, awakening, and higher intelligence. That's where we are right now. Yay! So exciting. Oh my gosh. So, and then kind of, not reducing us down, but coming to the understanding that if thought only moves in fractals, then we are fractal beings because we are a thought. And what does this mean for our journey in consciousness? So, both in mind and form, our DNA follows the fractal sequencing. Our neurons branch like cosmic webs or branches on a tree, and our thoughts expand into self-repeating spirals. Our lifetimes unfold in cycles of growth and return. This means that, number one, consciousness is not static. It unfolds in layers, dimensions, and self-replicating lessons, just like the lotus I'm holding in my hand. Number two, the more one understands fractals, the more one understands their own journey. And that lotus just turns into a rose. And number three, spiritual ascension is not an escape from fractals. It is mastery over them. And that's when the rose lights into the violet flame. If you got that imagery, I'm super excited because I definitely did, and it was beautiful. Anyways, so to rise in consciousness, we must learn not just to break old fractal loops. We also have to learn to create new ones intentionally. That's what the Ascended Masters, the Mantis Frequency, the Archangels, the Greys, the Zetas, the Betas, the Pleiadians, Arcturians, all of them, I could go on and on. They are here offering us encoded transmissions, and we are doing the work to reprogram, and that reprogramming breaks the fractal loops and creates new ones of higher vibrancy, new ones of peace, love, kindness, compassion, integrity, authenticity, accountability. Instead of being caught in unconscious patterns of suffering, we learn to weave deliberate fractals of growth, clarity, and expansion, leading us all the way to ascension. This is why those who reach higher consciousness seem to exist in flow states. They are not fighting against the fractal. They are navigating it with awareness. So, is navigating chaos the path to mastery? Absolutely. I mean, it's one of them. Definitely a part of it, in my opinion, and in my journey. So yes, mastery is not avoiding chaos. It is learning to work with it. It's like being a barrel rider or a bull rider, and it's trying to buck you off. And then once you find your rhythm, you can just flow. And you don't, why did I just get the imagery of like riding a dolphin? That's even better, but anyways, so whatever animal it is that might come to your mind, the rhythm is what it's about. And that's how you hack the fractal, because chaos is the raw, undirected energy of potential. So to navigate chaos is to learn how to perceive it without fear. And to understand chaos is to recognize its structure. And one of the first steps of that comes to mind is to recognize it has structure even if we can't see the structure. So to become chaos is to embody its movement without being consumed by it, without allowing it to control your emotions to where you are reacting to the world or even to yourself, and instead getting to choose your responses in peace. And to alchemize chaos is, of course, to transform it into creation, wisdom, and expansion. That expansion, man, we just keep doing it, and keep doing it. I keep seeing the conscious bubble around my head just expanding and expanding. Mastery is the process of directing chaotic energy into intentional reality creation. And that's why we're all creators and creatrixes, or whatever you prefer. I prefer creatrix. It's just my fanciness. So, And this is why ancient initiates were trained to endure intense mental, emotional, and spiritual tests. They were not learning how to control chaos. They were learning how to hold the paradox of chaos and order simultaneously. Has anybody got that gift that maybe when everything's calm, they might freak out? And not like on a regular basis, but they happen to freak out when everything else is calm. But then when all hell breaks loose, they are like super organized and like helpful. Like, yeah, I have that superpower too. And it just reminded me of that. So when we're talking about chaos, I wanted to hone in, of course, it's as above, so below. That, this is not just the chaos inside of us, it's the chaos that is suffering throughout society. The mental overwhelm, the pain of civilization. It is all a fractal of cosmic level chaos. The inner chaos of the mind mirrors the outer chaos of civilization. And the chaotic cycles of history mirror the chaotic loops of human thought patterns. The pain encoded into the subconscious mirrors the pain encoded into the planetary consciousness. Like, that's a beautiful one. Like, that's a, ooh, give me the emoji with the little brain blowing off the top. Yeah, that's that one right there for me. The suffering paradigm humanity is trapped in is not random. It is a repeating encoded transmission. And I truly believe that humanity's problem is that we are addicted to suffering. Like, I learned that long ago, and I absolutely agree with it, because we do it in a million ways, and even when we give up one way, we do it in another. And part of this, my journey has been relieving myself of the suffering, like a pot that's blown to pressure, and it was filled with suffering, and I have to let the air or whatever it is out very, very slowly, and that's my journey. Sometimes it's not as fast as I'd like, but you know what I mean. So it's all good. So what does this mean, though? Humanity has been in a feedback loop of suffering, perpetuated by encoded thought forms, ancestral trauma, and belief structures. The chaos of civilization is a reflection of collective mental chaos, and healing must occur both individually and collectively, because the two are mirror images of the other, well, each other. So the way out is through and breaking the encoded transmissions of pain, lack, and fear. Learning to see the fractal structure of suffering and consciously shift it. Holding both chaos and order in harmony, rather than trying to eliminate one or the other. I don't know how long ago it was, but it's been quite some time. I remember, and this is something I still stand firmly by. Everything is a pendulum. Like, just like everything is a fractal. It can trigger you, it has polarity, right? Like the binary code, 1, 0, 1, 0. Everything in existence. And so I want to hold and know the chaos and the order. However, I want to sit in the middle of them. So the way that it was told to me was like, we ride the pendulum between chaos and order, or the polarities, whatever we're on. And I don't want to ride the pendulum. I want to be in the center, watching the pendulum swing as an observer, and not necessarily, I don't want to say not feeding it, because that sounds wrong given all of the information that we've just discussed, like how it's a natural order. However, there's a little bit more to it. I'm going to have to deep dive on that. Again, feedback, email me, whatever. Toria@hermeticallyspeaking.com. TORIEA. So moving along. If perception of separation makes chaos seem outside of divine law, does it also make it seem outside of the divine mind? So this is one of the questions that I had asked because we were talking about illusions. And, I went on to hack it out, and it's, basically the greatest illusion of all is that chaos is not outside of divine creation. It only appears that way when viewed from a limited perception. So basically, like, the negative can't be created by God. That's one of the ways that I look at this. And that's a kind of a very short, stumpy kind of way, because it's so much bigger than that. If one sees reality as fragmented chaos, if one sees reality as fragmented, then chaos seems like an opposing force. If one sees reality as whole, like all things moving together towards our good, then chaos is simply the raw energy of creation, and it's waiting for you to direct it. And I know I'm certainly directing my energy. I can just literally see and feel it, and I hope you can yours as well. So the illusion of separation is what makes chaos feel disconnected from divine intelligence. Same with pain, suffering, crimes against us, people that have hurt us in the ways that it has happened. They create chaos and make us feel disconnected from divine intelligence and just from a divine source altogether, because we question its existence. But once this veil is lifted, once one sees, nothing is outside of divine order, not even the chaos. Nothing is broken. It's only misunderstood. And the mind's perception is what either fragments or unifies reality. And we've had, psychological disruptions occurring in humanity for a very, very long time. So our perception is askewed, especially before, conscious harmony and frequencies start awakening us. But this is the great revelation. This is the time. And this is a great revelation too, because chaos was never an enemy. It was only a misunderstood force, and it's waiting to be wielded. So when it comes to the codes of the human experience in this mathematical equation, you are a sequence that is unfolding. Your soul, it carries imprints of previous encodings. Your DNA is a living mathematical signature. Like, we don't need barcodes. That's just going to be a representation of, something spiritual that they, like everything that we build around us is a representation of something that we can do spiritually, or that we have spiritually, or that we are. Cellular memory and the imprint of past lives, like, that's a mathematical signature. Again, the light codes, the activations, and dormant potential within the genetic structure. Like, that is happening. We are awakening that potential. All of that is starting to activate. The role of symbols, glyphs, archetypal imprints, all of those things access a higher intelligence. That's why some of us are super, super drawn to different symbols, whether it be Norse, Egyptian, mythological, whatever it might be. Free will as the ability to reprogram one's own encoding. And maybe that's really what free will is. You know what I mean? Like, we're here on soul journeys. And so some of our paths are written. And I'm sure if you've listened to my previous episodes, then you've heard me talk about the two books. There's the white book, or is it blue? I think it's white, or is it blue? I don't know. There's the first book, and that's the book that we are born with, and that is our path. That is the one that, in astrological readings. But then there comes a point where you get a gold book, and the gold book is the one that you write. And that, like, we all talk about, like, do we have free will? I've questioned that. If I'm on this soul journey, do I even have free will? I think I just hacked it. Holy shit. Free will is the ability to reprogram one's own encoding. And that's what I'm doing on this journey. That's what you're doing on this journey. So yes, we have free will, but it's in a different way than I thought. it's not, picking what color or, anyways, yeah. Oh, I love that. That's awesome. See, the script's already done and it still keeps coming. Anyways, when you recognize that you are not just responding to the reality around you, but actively resonating with it, you begin to see how reality itself bends and shifts based on the frequency that you hold. And I'm sure if you're listening to this episode, you are someone that if you're having a bad day, you get it. And if you turn it around, the manifestations and the alignment occur, if not instantaneously, then hold on because you're getting there, I promise, but instantaneously. So the question is no longer what is reality? The question becomes what frequency am I holding and what reality does it generate? And this is kind of where I want to touch on Terrence Howard's work, which explores the vibrational resonance of sound, color, and geometry, which directly connects to this episode's themes. Just very briefly, because he has spoken about how sacred geometries are vibrational blueprints that shape reality. His theories suggest that consciousness itself is structured by geometric harmonics. He's definitely got a strong mantis frequency for sure. He has explored the idea that reality is not built on traditional math. It's on frequency-based relationships. And this ties into this episode through sacred patterning. If sound creates form, as seen in cymatics, then thoughts also create form through vibrational resonance. If color is a frequency, then consciousness itself is a spectrum of encoded frequencies. If geometric patterns hold intelligence, then human thought, language, and behavior must also be encoded in patterns. We can use all of this information and more as a bridge to show that all things, thought, form, reality, are structured by vibration, frequency, and sacred design. So, is the divine mind accomplished when we learn to direct fractals? Directing fractals is an advanced level of alchemy. In the old world, thoughts directed the person. In the new world, the one that you are in right now, the one that you are standing, strong holding in, and altering and anchoring in this new world, the person directs the thoughts. That is the monumental big shift. This means we shift from programmed thought to chosen thought. We shift from being unconscious receivers of reality, living somebody else's encoded transmission, to conscious designers of it. We reprogram the fractal instead of repeating it. And this is why the shift happening on Earth now is so very important. For most of history, humanity has been trapped in unconscious fractals of survival. We've all felt it. We all know the pain. We all know the suffering. We all have our own individual soul journeys that have screamed this at us. And now we are shifting into awareness of those programs, of those lifetimes, and we are learning how to rewrite them in real time. This is the true meaning of ascension. It is not about leaving the physical behind. It is about learning to restructure the fractals of mind, body, and reality. So, I have a question for you. What came first? The color or the frequency? The frequency. And I had to ask that question. So, because I was curious. I mean, it's like I knew it, because we all have that, we knew it, we feel it, but are we sure? We want a little bit more explanation. I did. And so the frequency is the vibration, the pure formless wave. And the color is the interpretation of that frequency, the way it manifests in light. And we could have chosen other examples besides color, like a note or something like that. Like imagine pure sound before it has been translated into a note. That is frequency. When it is perceived and categorized, it becomes a note, a color, a form. This means that before reality was shaped into seen and unseen, it existed only as vibration, the hum of consciousness. Creation itself was birthed through frequency, which then took the form in the many things that we know exist, as well as an infinite number of things that we don't remember exist. So I look at a fractal mind. I get kind of frustrated because, I use different programs to help write my script. I use ChatGPT, I use my notes, I have a teleprompter that I scroll through because I don't even really do video, so but anyways, organization, right? And it's a lot of kind of back and forth, questioning, writing, typing, whatever we want to call it. And it's like I can do it better in my mind. Like I can see, okay, this paragraph going here and this paragraph going there and this paragraph going there. In my mind, it's so much faster. However, it's not right in front of me like on a computer screen. And I imagine that a metaphor for the fractal mind is kind of like when the new, the TV shows nowadays, they'll have people in like this office or like an investigative show, and they'll have this giant like plasma screen that they touch screen on, and they're dragging things all across it. Like that's my mind. And I'm sure it's probably your mind too. But that's how I imagine a fractal mind processing. And that was just kind of thrown in here because I just wanted to maybe know if that resonates with you, because that's how I can best understand, that working in my concept, if that makes sense. Gosh, I feel like I'm all over the place on this podcast, so just bear with me. I promise it gets somewhere. Okay, so discussing the architect of form. Numbers do not exist without vibration, right? We were just talking about vibration and frequency. Well, yeah, vibration and frequency. So numbers do not exist without vibration. And vibration does not exist without movement. And movement is the first breath of creation. So every thought, every intention, it carries a frequency. Frequencies are layered within one another, like nested spirals within the cosmic field, the Schumann resonance, and planetary harmonics. How Earth herself speaks in waves of intelligent patterning. Just look at the ocean and the moon. The role of sound and reality encoding, so like language, mantras, cymatics, and the alchemy of the spoken word, light language. Oh, light language, love it. So when you alter your frequency, you are automatically altering your reality. It's not metaphorical, it is mathematical. It is mathematical, it is spiritual, it is scientific, it is evolution, it is expansion, it is all of those things. Ascension, alchemy. It's an infinite number of things. So to change one's vibratory state is to shift one's position within the divine sequence. It is why healing requires resonance. It is why initiation requires attunement. Think of the Knights of Templar and everything that they did. Think of laying in Osiris's tomb and being rebirthed in Osiris's tomb. Why? Been there, done that. That's what my higher self's like, been there, done that. You have too, I'm sure. And if you haven't, it's just because, you either haven't uncovered it yet, or your journey is a little bit different than mine, and that is okay. So why enlightenment is not about belief, it's about entrainment into a new harmonic field. Sorry, you ever step into your power and you start being more of yourself in front of people that you have no idea, right? That's me right now. I'm not a toot my own horn. I'm a in the background type of person. So finally putting myself out here, whew, my face is red. Anyways, so initiation requires attunement, and enlightenment is not about belief. It's about entrainment into a new harmonic field, which is everything that we're working towards. And the hum is to the note as vibration is to frequency. So I was playing with this the other, like as writing this, and it's like, and then that hum is chosen to breathe life into and start to expand and contract, and then becomes a note, a color, all of those things. And it's just like, and like, how crazy is that? Like, that is what we are made of. That is like the first stages. Like, we can literally do the first stages of creation just like that. Like, it's fun. And it's just like, man, how powerful are we? We are amazing. So anyways, the hum represents the pure vibration, the raw, unshaped movement of energy. And the note is when that vibration collapses, it breathes into a measurable frequency, a structured, defined expression of sound. And whether it be me or someone else, we're going to keep hacking this. We're going to keep understanding that scaffolding and how it's built and how it's structured based off of the thoughts we feed it. And it's going to become kind of more materialized in our minds for us to see how we build the reality around us. And it's going to be fabulous. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. Learning from you, learning from me, learning from others, that's how we do it. But just remember, it's also a journey of self and remaining authentic and, just in love with yourself. And if you don't love yourself yet, it's okay, because you're going to, and you're going to be very, very happy on this journey, I guess. I'm sorry. I got distracted for a second because my partner is downstairs doing something. This is why I usually record during the day when nobody's home. And so And now we're back. Sorry about that. To your regularly scheduled programming. Really not regularly scheduled. Trying to be, though. So, anyways, let's just break it down, get back to it, because we're almost done for this episode. And I'm at the part where it's breaking it down. Vibration is the source. That's number one. It is the primordial movement of energy before it takes form. It exists in all things before anything is recognized or categorized. It is limitless potential, and so are you. Number two, frequency is the measurement of vibration. When vibration settles into a pattern, that is when it can be measured as frequency. Frequency is what allows something to be interpreted, assigned meaning, and interacted with consciously. This is why different frequencies create different experiences, because they are structured manifestations of vibration. So just like pure energy flows into and becomes vibration and flows into and collapses into frequency, a becomes a ha and collapses into a ha 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 ha. And I am not a singer, but I just wanted to have fun with that. So you try it. I'm telling you, get closer to consciousness and creator and know that you are it. And this, my friends, is how all of reality is formed. So how this relates to consciousness and creation? This means that before a thought is a clear idea, it is a vibration. There's that void, right? Before the mind gives birth. Because I'm just like thinking about, when we experience just pure vibration. And man, yeah, I could sit with that for a long time. So before a manifestation takes form, it is pure energetic motion. So before a thought is a clear idea, it is a vibration. And before a manifestation takes form, it is pure energetic motion. Before a sound is heard, before a color is seen, before a reality is experienced, it is first a vibration, then a frequency. And I would love to be able to put a real divine mathematical chart. Like I can kind of see mine, and I hope that you can see yours too from the activations in this podcast episode from the mantis frequency, where it's like, you can begin to see that scaffolding we talked about, as well as, just what numbers apply to what vibration you're on and how to raise those and alter them and reconstruct them, and decode the ones that no longer serve you. Yeah, just keep expanding. So tuning into vibration before it becomes a structured frequency is a form of high-level intuitive perception. And choosing which frequencies to engage with consciously determines reality experience. This is where that activation is, right here in those words. Yes! That is why that was the imagery in my head. And, yay for all of us. And it also explains why healing happens at the vibrational level first, before it is seen or felt physically. Manifestation begins in energetic movement before it collapses into reality. So in essence, vibration is the cosmic potential. Frequency is the structured reality we experience. Alchemy is the ability to shift vibration before it takes form, thus rewriting frequency and reality itself. So, closing this circuit and returning to the universal mind. In our previous episode, we broke down mental constructs to reach universal intelligence, and it has a boatload of activations in it as well. So if you have not listened to it and are for some reason starting out here, or just intuitively choosing, I would recommend that at some point in time when it's called to you that you listen to the other one. And then there will be a third part coming out next week, and we'll see what happens after that. Now we understand that universal intelligence is not random thought. It is structured. It is coded. The illusion of disorder dissolves when one sees the mathematics behind it. The individual is a living equation within this greater formula that we're experiencing. Meditation, resonance work, and attuning oneself to divine patterning. So aligning with the natural laws of frequency to unlock clarity, insight, and co-creation is what we are here for. So in closing, to see the mathematics is to witness the mind of the divine. To hear the frequency is to listen to the voice of source. To understand the sacred patterning is to recognize the order behind the veil. With this knowledge, we step forward, not just into perception, into application. In the next episode, we will explore the alchemy of activation, unlocking the divine potential within. And remember, the true skill of a master is not knowing everything or even needing to know everything. It's knowing how to navigate infinite information with precision and clarity. That's today's episode of Hermetically Speaking. I am Toria, and very grateful and blessed that you are here listening with me. And if you feel called to explore these transmissions beyond this podcast, you can find alchemical words, activational scripture, and encoded frequency contemplations on Facebook and Instagram at Hermetically Speaking. That's HERMETICALLY speaking. And for short insights, energetic shifts, and real-time transmissions, follow me on TikTok at System of a Thought. And if you do prefer to listen visually, this podcast is uploaded weekly on my YouTube channel. Love it if you would go over there, follow, and that is Hermetically Speaking as well. And I do have a website where I do take one-on-one bookings. It's currently all donation-based with suggested donations, and that is hermeticallyspeaking.com. So remember, this journey is not just about knowledge, it's about activation. The words, the transmissions, the codes, they are all here for those who are ready to receive them. If you are drawn to this path, trust that pull. The mind seeks to understand, and the soul recognizes truth before the mind ever does. May your resonance guide you. May your awareness expand, and may your journey be filled with clarity. Until next time, much love, many blessings, and infinite transmissions ahead.